afternoon and welcome to the 9th session of Etown Links. We are providing from the Elizabethtown Chamber of Commerce and Elizabethtown College Partnership a series of webinars that's carefully curated to give you only the best and most relevant information on running your business in the light of the immense change and upheaval due to COVID-19. We invite local experts to give you what you need to know in under an hour, maybe while you eat your lunch from a local restaurant like I'm doing. And just wanted to let you know that there's plenty of places in town that are still open if you want to check on their open hours, or if you want to share your open hours or changes, you can do that right on the Chamber website. I'm Kelly Fuddy. I'm the former membership manager at Elizabethtown Area Chamber of Commerce, and I've come back in this time of crisis to co-moderate some discussions aimed to serve our members and non-members and anyone who's looking for a place to find some guidance and some hope and some camaraderie. Today you can see I'm broadcasting from the outer reaches of the solar system in my son's bedroom, so it's nice to see you here. We want to help light up that Etown spirit to help you and your business not only survive, but to innovate and thrive during this exceptional challenge, and that's why we're here today. My partner in crime and co-host is Dr. Matthew Fritz, and I'm going to let him introduce himself as usual.
Good afternoon, E-Town. Good to see you all here. Imagine what you're all looking like. Hopefully you're staying safe and staying cool today on a slightly toasty day, a little better than yesterday. We're excited to have all of our panelists here and, of course, all of our viewers watching online or by YouTube later on. This will be posted to the Chamber website. Just a reminder that we do have recording in process for the show. And if you have any questions along the way, we do invite you to share those in the Q&A section at the bottom of the page. As time permits and questions come in as appropriate, we'll pose those to our panelists and hopefully have a nice, rich discussion. So again, we encourage you to ask any questions you might have related to our topic today, real estate in E-Town during this during the pandemic. So thank you for joining us, and Kelly, turn it back to you.
Great, thanks so much, Matt. Yes, as Matt said, if you have questions that come up today during the session that you would like clarified by our wonderful presenters, please put them in the Q&A there at the bottom. You can communicate those to us at any time, and then we'll forward them. You won't be visible, so we can't see you if you're at home in your sweatpants or your pajamas. Just send them in that way. This is a public and open event. It will be recorded and later published to the Chamber YouTube channel. Today's topic, without further ado, is the state of real estate in the Elizabethtown area. Everyone has a vested interest in the state of real estate because real estate in many ways supports our municipalities, it supports our school district, it affects our values of our own property, even if we're not buying or selling. So a lot of people like to stay up to date on it, and we are so fortunate today to have Greg Grogan, a local realtor with RE/MAX Pinnacle in Elizabethtown, and John Smith of the John Smith Real Estate Group. We're going to talk about residential and commercial trends, buyers and sellers, how to succeed in this market, mortgage qualifications, what makes our E-Town market stronger actually in light of COVID, the effects of the real estate shutdown on municipal and school district revenue, the rental market, why it might be a great time to start a business that could better our local economy. So all that and more from two great experts. So I'm going to give them each a little introduction and then have them take their presentation away. John Smith has been in the real estate business for 40 years, and along with his wife Eileen is the owner of their family-owned business that they have been operating for 27 years. Being recognized both locally and nationally, John received the Top Producing Agent Award for both number of sales and highest sales volume from the Greater Harrisburg Board of Realtors for 17 consecutive years. From 2014 to 2019, he was recognized every year by Real Trends and Wall Street Journal as one of the top 250 realtors in the country for number of sales, and in 2019, ranked number 6 in Pennsylvania for individual sales by a company-owned agent. John and his team pride themselves on their success with conducting business with the highest level of integrity, commitment, and service to their clients. Greg Grogan moved to Elizabethtown when he was 8 years old. He graduated from Elizabethtown High School and Elizabethtown College. You may have seen him around on the softball fields or the fire department. He worked for AMP Incorporated and Tyco Electronics for 26 years. He's been in real estate for 18 years. He is married to his lovely wife, Loris, for a long, long time, he says, who is responsible for their children, Robbie and Tyler, and their niece, Angie Selby Urban. We are proud grandparents, he says, of 5 grandchildren. Just recently, the Grogan team was recognized by Real Trends and Tom Ferry, a Colorado-based real estate publisher and speaker, for being ranked 70th in Pennsylvania for small teams with 81 transactions in 2019. His team is made up of, and the picture there you can see, Mandy O'Brien, Kate Storm, and Katie Nisley. So welcome to both of you, Greg and John. I'm going to let you take over from here.
Thank you, Kelly. And Greg's going to start things off here for us.
Yep. Thank you, Kelly. It's been a short time that I've been in real estate, but started with John Smith. And so it's an honor at this time to be sitting in front of everybody and being a participant in this presentation, especially as a partner with John Smith in it. I wanted to start out today with a little bit of statistics on the housing market. It's one of those things where people can relate to numbers oftentimes. And so what I did was I put together a couple of slides that will just review some of the highlights. Starting out with the Lancaster County statistics. If you can go to the next one there, Matt, I'd appreciate it. I started with Lancaster County statistics just to be able to give you a picture of what 2019 looks like, had looked like, and then how the first 6 months of this year have changed. And you see the number of units is something that we keep track of. We keep track of them in our own sales. We keep track of them as an industry. And it really helps us be able to analyze what the market looks like. You see that in 2019, the average amount of homes sold per month were 565. You go to the first 6 months of this year, we're down 200 per month on average. And so definitely when last week, the school district was saying about how their transfer taxes are really low. That's where it comes from, is those number of transactions. Sold prices are up a little bit. That's kind of consistent with what the market was expected to do over the year-to-year average. And so that's not a surprise from the standpoint of inventory is low. So we are able to say that we're doing pretty good there. You see our problem in the industry has been inventory. And when you look at that homes listed per month compared to the average sold, you can see that there's not much cushion there to improve the amount of inventory that we have on the market. And so comparing those numbers, you can see where some of the problems are. We measure days on the market because of the fact that the amount of time that it actually takes to get a house sold. And so you see just a little bit of an uptick in that number. But when you see the end of the month inventory, you can see where definitely we're seeing a decrease in the amount of inventory as far as from what it was in 2019 to what it is now 6 months into the year. Next slide, please. We wanted to focus today on inventory in Elizabethtown and Donegal school districts. We use Elizabethtown and Donegal school districts because our communities are small enough to say that a house that would be, say, in Bainbridge should be very similar to a house that is in Etown Borough. And so we use the school districts to measure in our area here. You can see the differences there. Again, looking at 2019 compared to 2020, 6 months. We're at 31.5 units per month sold on average. January to June, only 21. Although I'll call out to you that in Etown, this past month in June, we actually put 43 homes under agreement. So that 21 units per month is going to start changing. That's going to start catching up. 6 months of work to it, we could very well be back on track if we have enough houses coming on the market. Today, units that are under agreement are 25 units that are under agreement just for July. So we're 21 days into the month and we've got 25 units already on there. We're on track to start cleaning up that backlog of houses sold. It's getting cleaned up real quick. Some of the other numbers down through, as you see it, days on the market jumping to 77. Definitely we had that slowdown, but we're coming back strong. End of the month inventory being 52 houses, and today the inventory is 47 houses on the market today. The problem with Etown is the amount of homes under construction, or the number of developments that we have right now. So when you look at that number of end of the month inventory, there's actually 15 homes listed on the MLS system, the multi-list system, that are homes that could be constructed. So when you start taking that out and you say, well, my son is looking for a house in the 100 to 200,000 price range, there's only 5 houses on the market today that would fall into that price range. So there's not many. And the problem with it is there's probably 40 buyers in that price range that are ready to jump today. So you got to be aware of those types of things. And Matt, if you could move to the next slide, we take a quick look at Donegal. Donegal, their volume is a little less than Elizabethtown as far as average sold. You can see that it definitely is affected, although the same types of things, the price increases are there, the homes listed per month down a little lower than what we would like to see them. End of the month inventory, only 32 homes. So definitely some things that are there saying that we're still in that seller's market. From here, if there's not any immediate questions, we should move to John, who's going to talk about the seller's market. John, you're muted.
Are we good there? Okay. We definitely are in a seller's market, as Greg said, because there have been many examples that I can give, personally examples, and I'm sure many realtors have similar stories, but there was a case down in Mountjoy where there were 42 showings on this $299,000 property that had 42 showings in a matter of 48 hours, and there were 14 contracts. Again, looking at what the market is doing, there were only 3 homes in that 300 price range. So you have 42 people looking at that same price range. And out of those 14 contracts, eight of those contracts were over asking price. There was another situation on a small bi-level home over on Creek Road, and that particular home had 16 showings in the first day, and they had 9 contracts. And again, that home eventually sold for about $15,000 over the asking price. The one in Mountjoy sold for $20,000 over asking price. So what you do as a realtor coming into a market like this is, when you sit down with a seller, you explain things, what the market is doing, okay? And so by explaining things, you point out that, hey, you may get competitive offers, but then if you get a price that's higher than what the asking price is, you could run into an appraisal problem. And so that's an issue that could cause problems down the road. And so they have to look at all these factors. But it's definitely a seller's market right now. And there's a concept called absorption rate. And the absorption rate is a term commonly used that we use, and it's a rate at which homes sell in an area over a period of time. So, for example, a couple of years ago, if you had a home that was $350,000 on the market here in Elizabethtown, you might have to wait at least 7 or 8 months to get that home sold. In today's market, you're probably looking at about 30 days. But I did a little analysis here in Elizabethtown School District as well as Donegal, but for a time factor, I'm just going to look at Elizabethtown for now. But from July the 1st, 2019 to June 30th, 2020, all the homes that were sold were approximately 315. Right now, there's 44 active, and the absorption rate is about 51 days or 1.7 months. So on an average, a home sold in about 51 days. Now, if we look at what it's doing today, if we look at what it's doing right now in the last 2 months, that is down to about 2 weeks. That's what that absorption rate is telling us. Here's a good example. In that price range of 150,000 to 200,000, last year there were 69 homes sold in Elizabethtown. Right now, in that price range, there's 2 active listings. And so last year it was about every 10.76 days, one of those homes sold. So every 10 days, if you were a seller and you were putting your home in the market, you could expect it to sell within 10 days. Now, that's the most active price range we have. Another one, if you had a home over $300,000, it took about 109 days last year. And again, just comparing it to Mount Joy, that same time frame, something over 300 was 201 days. So it was about another 100 days in Donegal School District versus Elizabethtown. And again, that's the absorption rate. And I think that's an important factor because you just, you want to look at how long it's going to take to sell based on the current inventory, and you base that on what sales have taken place. Real quickly, I just want to highlight, as far as selling, when we sit down with sellers, we ask them what are their goals, what are their expectations, and I think it's very critical as a real estate professional today that we see what your expectations are, okay? And that would be expectations, how soon do you want to leave? Do you want to stay in your home and rent it? If you're building a house, certainly you don't want to move twice. So many times, if you're building a house, we tell that seller, hey, we could sell your house, settle on the house, and you could rent back for 4 or 5 months. And I personally have 2 of those going right now. And every homeowner wants top dollar. You go in and you ask, what are your goals as far as price? And they tell you a price, and a lot of times it's a Zestimate price, which is, they get that on Zillow. And I'm telling you right now, don't go on what the Zestimate says, because Zillow doesn't go inside your home. They don't see the carpet that needs replaced. They don't see the walls that need painted. So the Zestimates that you folks are seeing online is not a true value of what the home is valued at. The market's going to dictate what you get for your house. And it's a price war and a beauty contest. And we as realtors can go in and give advice, and the people that are getting top price, that are getting multiple offers, are those people that are doing their homework. They're doing the deep cleaning. They're painting walls that need painting. Perhaps they're changing carpet. They're getting rid of clutter. They're getting organized. Any pet smells, they're getting rid of those. And then outside, obvious is just cleaning up your flower beds and pulling the weeds and making sure everything is nice and tidy. And again, we can make these suggestions, and many times we get in a home stager. Sue Kaufman's a great person to contact that we all use here in Elizabethtown, and she's a wonderful person And many times we'll pull them in to give advice as well. Another thing is photography. First impression is so important when you're selling your home. And that's why many of us have gone to professional photography. We do videos. We also do professional still shots. I think 2, 3, 4 years ago, you pretty much went in and did your own pictures. But today, I think a picture tells 1,000 words, and you want to give a really good first impression. And if you have professional shots, it obviously is obvious on Bright MLS, as well as Zillow and Realtor.com and all the other websites that we all use. And the most important thing in selling today is pricing your home correctly. And again, you look at comparables, and you want to be very competitive in your pricing. And again, some realtors use a tactic where they're going to put a low price in, hoping that they're going to get multiple offers. That's one tactic that some folks use. You know, we basically say the facts and, hey, this is what our suggestion is, but you as a seller, you have the final say. And if a seller wants a higher price than what we feel that the market is dictating, we have a plan in place saying that, okay, we'll try this price, but we have a plan that within 30 days, we're going to lower the price. But in today's market, and I think Greg would agree with me, today we say, okay, we'll start at that price, but within 2 weeks, we're going to lower that price just because it's a seller's market and you want to make sure you're in the ball game. So that's about all I have about the selling market right now. I see price your homes to let buyers escalate the price. Let me just talk about a little bit of that. That's pricing the home so that many times it's going to get a higher price than what you're asking. And I gave you a couple examples of homes that did get more than the selling price. I had 4 of them this past month that we went in with competitive bids and we won all of those. But it's a common thing to let the buyers escalate the price up. And if the time's not right, consider refinancing. You know, your needs as a family might have changed, and considering refinancing might be a better way to go. Maybe there's a sickness in your family that happened, or maybe just life changes and you want to sell, but it's not the right time. But refinancing is certainly a better way to go because the interest rates are down into the high 2s, low 3s. And that's certainly a consideration to do at this time. That's pretty much it for now, Kelly.
Thank you, John. Greg, you're going to talk to us a little bit about buyers, and then coming up,
Yes.
you guys are going to roundtable about commercial and investors and some other things. So tell us a little bit about the buyers in the market.
Sure, Kelly. Thank you very much. As John had stated, the interest rates are really at an all-time low. They're hovering right around 3%. Excellent credit and a whole bunch of other combinations can get you down into the 2s for a 30-year mortgage. But in that 3 to 3.25, 3.5% financing is where you should expect interest rates could be for buyers. When we're in a seller's market, it's really important that the buyer is ready to roll. And, you know, I like to say that it's really important for a person who is considering buying early on the process, when they're really thinking about this is something they want to do. It's time to get a realtor. It's time to talk to that realtor, interview realtors. Don't go with just one. Talk to a couple of different ones. You might find one's personality isn't exactly for you, but you want to be pre-approved. You want to be saving money. All these things that you need to be doing, because in the $100,000 to $200,000 entry-level price range for Etown, there are only 5 homes on the market. 150 to 200, there's only 2 homes on the market. How do you end up purchasing that house when there's 25 buyers showing up at an open house? or 25 showings in the first day. It's really a matter of crunch time and being as ready as possible. Kelly referred to my days of softball and all that kind of stuff, doing the umpiring. And Kelly's dad umpired with me, played. And, you know, it's to the point where even the buyer agents, even the agents that are working with the buyers, you know, they're going into it and they're trying to get you as prepared as possible. They've got all kinds of tools that they're going to try to write the contract as aggressive as possible. But we still aren't batting 1,000. We're batting more like 300 or 400, where 30 to 40% of the deals where we actually write a contract, we're getting, because there's so many buyers and there's so many different things that you can do. And each buyer is different as to how much cash they might have, what's their affordability, how high can they go on the price, that kind of stuff. And I point out that last bullet there, that, you know, if you really put it all into perspective, 40,000 is an income that really is where you start entering into the Etown market. Houses, we don't have houses that are priced less than 100,000 that don't have issues. And so when you're trying to figure out, is it time for me to buy a house? If you're not making more than 40,000 in your household income, it's going to be tough to find a house. Unfortunately, that's going to mean that you're going to probably pay $1,000 a month for rent for your house. Well, gee whiz, at that $40,000 income and that $120,000 house that you might buy, your mortgage payment's going to be $1,000. Where's the win? And if you can afford it, you should obviously be buying. They're saying right now that the bullish industry of real estate is what really is picking up the market. We're setting the pace ahead of everybody else because of the fact that we had such a pent-up demand and so many people that are out there trying to buy and not enough houses on the market. So buyer comes into it, meets up with a realtor, we start throwing the tools together. Maybe you're ready in a week, maybe you're ready in a month, maybe it's going to take you 6 months to get ready to buy. But most importantly, you're doing the right things to get ready, because it's going to take a while at 10 houses per month going on the market for longer than a month for us to build up an inventory where it becomes a buyer's market instead of a seller's market. Interest rates will have gone up by that time. Why wouldn't you be looking at it now? That's all I got for that, Kelly.
Well, thanks, Greg. So let's talk a little bit about, in terms of this market for buyers and sellers, what about investors?
Yeah, so the investment industry, you know, there's all kinds of different investors, and there's that person that's just trying to get into it, just starting. And then there's that investor who's been in it for a long time. Many of the investors are looking for an 8% return on investment. And so they're basically looking at how much money they're laying out, and then what is the return on that through rentals and so on. And so the hard part about it is that the houses that are coming, or the properties that are coming on the market as investments, have performed really well and are in good condition. And with them being in good condition and performing very well, the seller is sitting there saying, I want top dollar. And so with that seller wanting top dollar, you have to swallow your pride and say, you know what, I plan on keeping this as a long-term investment. And with me keeping this as a long-term investment, my return today might not be 8%, but over the long run, I'll end up being at 8%. Yeah. And so,
after you're done, I want to chime in something here, Greg.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, here's a good example of exactly what Greg's talking about. I think we all know where Conoy Crossing is. There's some townhomes out there where people bought a couple of them to rent out 5-6 years ago. That rental was $1,200, $1,150 to $1,200. Now that same unit has a 3-bedroom, 1-car garage. That same unit is renting for $1,550 a month. And what has happened is there's been a couple of investors who've come out and bought maybe 4 or 5 or 8 of them together. They sold their farms in Lancaster County and they need something to invest in. So like Greg said, it's a long-term investment, and you can't, you know, the price of these are over 200,000, and it doesn't make sense for the ordinary investor to go out and buy a townhouse for 215,000 and thinks they're going to get an 8% return. It doesn't work that way. But slowly but surely, these properties are increasing because the rents are increasing and because the demand for rentals is so great, particularly here in Elizabethtown, because there's 3 letters, 283, Route 283. We're located at a perfect spot for people to commute to Lancaster, Harrisburg, Hershey, York. We are really in a hub, and we all who live here know that. And so I just wanted to chime that in, Greg. You can continue.
Very good. Yeah. So one of the things that I always like to suggest to a first-time investor, or gee, I'm really wanting to get started in this and so on, is that it's a little bit like the stock market. You know, if you invested in stocks, you have this tendency to look up the stock every day to see how it's performing. Eventually, you get to the point where you believe in it and you decide to just let it go and check it every 2 months or 3 months, or eventually it gets to 2 years or 3 years. I like to suggest to people that to start out with your first investment, when you're starting out with that first investment, it should be something that is close to you, not next door. You don't want to buy the house next door and then have to fight with your neighbor. But what you want to be able to do is say that every day I'm going to work, and when I'm going to work, I'm driving by my investment and I get to see it. I don't have to stop. There's no problems. Oh boy, look at that curtain that's always hanging open, or look at the way that's being presented outside. I want to clean that up, or I want to fix it. It gives you that presence of you're involved in it. You can see it every day. You don't have to make special appointments to go to the house and see it. What I like to recommend is that's your first investment. As you get better at it, as the confidence builds and so on, you tend to say, I don't need to drive by it today. I don't need to drive by it this week. I don't need to worry about it. Okay, now we're getting into that next investment. And it doesn't have to be right on the path that you travel every day. So it's just some of the advice that we give to people. The rental industry is huge in our area. Just as John described, that hub that we're in, John taught me that years ago. That's the strength of our market here in Elizabethtown, is that a person relocating to the area has a spouse. They're relocating and they're going to be working in Harrisburg. The spouse needs to find a nursing job. Imagine finding a nursing job living in Elizabethtown. The number of places that you could end up going and not have to drive more than 20 minutes. So it really opens up that possibility. With that being the case, the market is so strong that the builders are focusing a lot on building more townhouses, building more apartments, building more investment type properties. And as we saw, Mountjoy Township just approved switching an area that was zoned for less density to increase the density and make it more of an apartment type location. So it's happening in our town. We're not to the point where we've recovered and have plenty of inventory, and it's not a bad idea to be doing.
Thanks, Greg. John, maybe you can start out. I would like, it kind of, we talked about investing in residential real estate. What about, what's the state of commercial real estate now that everybody's working from home and they're sitting unused? What's happening with that?
Yeah, changes are coming for sure. And as if you drive through Elizabethtown, you will see commercial spaces for rent. I can speak to that directly here because we have a second floor space available right now. Greg and I were talking yesterday. I think everybody knows where 222 South Market Street is. It's where Kevin Dolan's located. They have a large suite up there, and I think it's close to 4,000 square feet. Who is going to rent that? You know, it was set up originally with Ron Feldy years ago, and then Mr. Delaney had it in his accounting firm. But Bob Gruber, for example, since Berkshire Hathaway moved out of what used to be the Christian Light building, as us old timers know it as Christian Light, that building's for sale now and for rent. That's an ideal commercial space, but more and more people are learning to, more companies are saying, you know what, during this COVID thing, more and more people are working out of their home. And you know what, it's not working too badly. I gave the example yesterday when we were meeting that we do a lot of business with residential mortgage services, and this is just one mortgage company. They probably have 45 to 50 employees, but there's about 3 people that are coming into work every day. Everybody else is working from their home. And you know what? It's working fine because they are swamped, as are most lenders right now. And so, you know, as a business owner and as an investor in commercial real estate, you've got to take a step back and say, is this really a good investment for me? Because there's those loopholes. They could more and more people, and I think more and more businesses are going to see that, you know what, this is working pretty good. I don't need to have 1,500 or 2,000 or 3,000 square feet of living space or of rental space to be successful in today's market. You want to add anything to that, Greg?
Yeah, yes. You know, so one of the things that we've got to keep in mind, as you know, the purpose of this program is communicate with the Chamber of Commerce and be able to get the word out and so on. You know, as more people are working from home, what ends up happening is those people aren't going to the mall in Harrisburg to spend their lunch break and get their lunch and to be able to do a little bit of shopping here or shopping there. And so the complexity of our bedroom community in Elizabethtown could possibly change as long as we're able to provide the things that are needed for those people that are staying home. And so these opportunities where investment properties, commercial properties are opening up and being available, it's those opportunities that could very well be, gee, I'm taking my lunch break and I'm going downtown to eat. Gee, I'm going downtown to shop. So it may be the opportunities for some of those places, some of those businesses that would like to be startups could possibly get into it here in Elizabethtown. We'd love to fill that 4,200 square foot office space with, you know, 70 employees that are sitting at their desk and eating their lunch downtown and shopping downtown. But those 4,200 square feet of space is more likely going to be needed for something else. And what we're going to need to do is cater to those people who are at home and didn't spend all morning getting ready to go to work. They're coming into Etown to get breakfast or lunch or whatever it might be. So the atmosphere could be changing from our bedroom community into being more of what it used to be, where we had stores downtown that people actually used during the daytime.
I have to just say, I hope that you know, continues to be the case. I know I live right on West High Street, and so living close to town was really nice during the whole lockdown. Like for when the things that were open, we were so close to them, we could get out and walk there, and it's just nice having that stuff close to town and not having to go. And I also, you know, if people are working from home, they're saving money on gas, so maybe they have more to spend at restaurants and shops locally in on their breaks. So question about working from home. I thought maybe you guys might know something about this, because I would guess that people ask this if they're going to buy in this area. What's the status of internet here in Elizabethtown? Is there any talk about getting better service with people working from home?
That was probably the most frustrating thing I had with working at home. Living in a townhouse community, 225 homes in the community, you know, probably say 500 to 600 kids trying to get online at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock in the morning because they had to do some schoolwork. And then the moms or dads and or both who might have been working from home or might have been just, oh, I'm going to check Facebook and I'm really trying to work hard and can't get a connection. I've heard that. I've had some clients ask, you know, what's the closest FiOS connection and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, move to Hershey. It's not here in Elizabethtown. I have not really heard anything, but boy, I'd be the first one to be a proponent for it. So.
Yeah, I have not heard anything either, but yeah, it was really bad, for sure.
Yeah, and school's starting up, so we'll see what happens with that. But that's next week's topic. We'll be here with Michelle Balliette. So maybe she has an inside scoop. We'll keep trying to find it for you folks out there, the inside scoop on if we're ever getting FiOS or 5G. So
yeah, and I just want to add this: as Elizabethtown grows and expands, I do think that we're going to see some development with some larger stores. You know, I'm not saying Walmart, I'm not saying Target, I'm saying, but I think the larger investor sees Etown as a hub, and I do think there's going to be some larger commercial space become available here fairly soon, and I think that our community needs some of that. Obviously, the downtown is doing a great work, and the chamber's doing a great work downtown, but I do think some larger stores would really benefit our commerce here as well. But I do think that's on the horizon here.
John and Greg, is there any word that either of you have heard on the street about the proposed changes to the 283 exit, not the 743 exit, but the second exit down Mertz Drive? And
yeah, I don't think that's going to happen, the latest I heard, because they had proposed that to have an off ramp coming down from Harrisburg, to have an off ramp and then coming through what's going to be the next phase here of Westbrook and Jerry Horse development that would dump out there at Hernley's property. But I'm pretty sure that they tabled that just because of the cost.
And my understanding is it is tabled, although they have moved it to the top of the table to at least study it for long term.
Gotcha, thank you. One of the questions that was posed earlier was about you were talking about the market and the length, the time on market, and the question was whether or not the time on market included waiting for closing, or if does a property go off market as soon as it's under agreement? How does that work?
Yeah, so the days on the market is measured as an average when we're trying to say, you know, those numbers that we were looking at, that, you know, that was an average number of days on the market. So the hard part about it is those houses that I was telling you about that could be built are affecting that number also, because they might have been on the market as could be built for the last year in the development. So it does affect those numbers. But we stopped counting days on the market for a home that goes under agreement. So when you see a days on the market for a home that is under agreement, it has stopped counting on the day that it actually went under agreement.
Correct. Like, for example, here, homes from 150 to 200, days on market, 10.76 days last year, in that range. 69 homes sold and an average of 10.76. So like Greg said, it's from the time it goes into the MLS system until that goes under contract, and it doesn't go till settlement. I think that's what the question was, probably, Matt. Yeah.
So they're getting offers even faster than that. That's just when they've chosen an offer is 10 days. That's
right.
Pretty quick. One other question someone had about that, similar about your numbers. Dwight said he's assuming those 2019 numbers are an average of all 12 months of the year. It's not like a January to June versus January to June, correct?
Actually, it was a fiscal year. It was July 1st to June 30th, but it was a whole year. But it.
Oh.
No, let me correct that. The statistics that we were using were for 2019, January 1 through December 31st. And that was for the purpose of saying that's a normal, these are the normal numbers. Mm-hmm. And so when we were seeing the numbers there, they were for 2019 and basically average per month over that 2019. Yeah. We took the first 6 months to be able to show of 2020 to be able to show how far off we are from what an average per month would be in a normal market without having quarantine and all kinds of restrictions.
Gotcha. All right. He said, thanks, Greg. That makes sense. He responded. Deb Dupler just popped on. Deb Dupler is our chamber membership committee leader, and she is a former board member, and she's also a Mountjoy Township supervisor. And she wanted to tell us, John, about those 283 numbers. The off-ramp may be back on the table. Talks are continuing.
Okay. So, thank you, Deb.
That is your up-to-the-minute update about
that's really, yeah.
And that, I was a little bit aware of that, and I didn't want to break it.
So could we say that the off is now on and everything's topsy-turvy anyway, right? So the off-ramp is on. The off-ramp
is on. Yeah. Yes. Also an on-ramp, presumably they're going to build the on and the off.
One would hope.
One would hope. Although no, I think it is just an off-ramp, isn't it? On would stay at the same place. I don't know.
What's Deb saying? Ask Deb right there.
Yeah.
The immediate plan is that it's an off-ramp and they'll use the existing. Long-term would be that they address on and off.
Guys, this is like a wealth of information. Thank you. We got all the Etown gossip right here. Matt, did you have any more questions lined up for these guys before I know that Greg has one more thing. We wanted to talk specifically about those buyers and sellers and really just homeowners that are in a tight spot right now. Some of us have lost sources of income or, are trying to say, okay, maybe I can refinance, but the banks are having more restrictive qualifications for that in a time when people have less money. So you wanted to share a little bit about those deferred mortgage payments that the government did allow. I'll just let you share it. Go ahead.
Sure. Many people may have been in that position where it was going to be really tough. You had to make a decision between going to the grocery store or paying your mortgage payment. And those are always a very bad time to have to experience. And one of the things that I want to point out is the industry has made a big deal out of the fact that in 2008, the situation was really bad. And a lot of people ended up having to foreclose and so on. The biggest problem back in 2008 was everybody was embarrassed to point out that they had a problem and that they were having trouble making a mortgage payment. We had, over the last 6 months, such a huge change in unemployment and so on that there's no reason to be embarrassed about it. If you've got friends that you think might be in a situation, you have family that you think might be in the situation, or you might be in a situation that you felt like you needed to forbear one of the months of payments, or 2 months or 3 months, it is really important that you reach out and start talking to the experts on it. See if there's a way to fix it. How are we going to get it caught up? Things like that, because you're allowed to forbear. But the bank's allowed to say, I'm not giving you any more money. The bank's allowed to say, I'm going to ding your credit. The bank's allowed to do certain things that you might choose not to do. And if it's a spiral where we missed the first month payment, then we decided we had to miss the second month. Now we're trying to catch up and we can't. You might be in a position where you're better off selling the home and moving into a rental in order to do the repairs that you need to be able to do on your situation, and then be able to get back into the market again in a year or two so that you're not in a jam. Like we said, it's a seller's market. You have a house, and with you having that house, it might be better for you to look at the options of selling your house right now, doing a little bit of a reset, and then getting back into the market of owning a home in a couple of years.
I think along those same lines, Greg, it's important that if you are in a situation like that, is to keep communication open with your lender. You know, if it's a national company, most companies sell the mortgage, so you might be dealing with somebody in Illinois or California or wherever, but keep the communication lines open with your lender.
Right.
And because you're not alone, like Greg said, but the most important thing they can do is talk to your lender, talk to your mortgage company. They understand, they have programs in place, and yeah, they can say no, but they will listen.
All right, we have an update here from Deb. Mountjoy Township update. PennDOT has been re-engaged for direction on the interchange design. They are waiting on feedback on the plan that was sent to them. So that's your new up-to-the-minute update on the 280.
So I'm assuming when we say direction, we're not talking about on and off, but whether or not it's going to go forward, right?
Yes, not whether it's an on
Because
or
you don't
off.
want to go backward on an off ramp. That's really dangerous.
You
Yeah.
will get the police coming after you if you do that. Don't do that.
Right. You get a special award for that, I hear.
You do not want to be in prison during COVID. It's not a safe place. All right, guys. So
Deb's not she's not at liberty as to how that's going to be funded, is she? That's getting too deep now.
I think that might, hang on, there's
That's
another.
getting a little bit too far. Yeah.
Very good. Yeah, that might be a
All
little
right.
bit. Greg, John, either of you have any last thoughts that you wanted to share about, you know, what people should be keeping in mind now and over the next few months with the potential changes, you know, with COVID? I hope real estate doesn't get shut down again. I know there was a lot of debate about whether that should have happened, and we're not here to debate that really, but you know, what should people be preparing for if they're thinking, I may need to make some kind of financing or home selling or buying change in the next 6 months or so?
Yeah, I think we've been all positive. We've been telling how good the market is, how active the market is, how things are selling pretty quickly. But don't get caught up into that. I think that there's many situations where it's best to just stay put and just to appreciate what you have. It might be tempted to get that 4-bedroom house if you have a 3-bedroom house, but at the same time, don't stretch yourselves financially. Just live within your means is I think the best advice that Greg and I can both give you. One other note I want to just say about swimming pools, you know, 10 or 15 years ago, pools were a liability. If you had a swimming pool, people really didn't want to buy the house. That was a liability. Today, we've got people wanting pools. I have 2 clients right now that want a swimming pool. I had another realtor call me yesterday. Hey, if you list something, we really want a pool. And I think COVID has really changed that whole, the focus on that, because people are staying home. You know, they're going camping, they're going on weekend trips. But I think pools are really a positive thing right now. I just wanted to throw that in.
John, it's nice to know that my 13-year-old son has gotten to you somehow to make that plug. I appreciate that an awful lot.
He called last night, Matt. He called me last night. So
that's my boy.
Smart guy. I will say, I know that a couple months ago when we weren't sure whether the Willowwood Swim Club was going to open this summer or not, I was preparing to spend a few days weeping in bed if it did not open this summer, but it did. But I also warned all my Facebook friends that if they posted pictures of themselves in their private pools and I didn't have one, they would quickly be hidden or unfriended because I didn't want to know about it. But I can see why people desire it. Yeah. Greg, any last tips from you?
Yeah, I think that, you know, the important thing is no matter what you're doing in real estate, there's an expert out there that can help you through it. Don't feel as if it's something that you should be taking on yourself. There are so many things that are what makes our job important, that just being able to count on the person who knows what they're doing, getting into the real estate market and wanting to do it, wanting to purchase something or sell something. Talk to your experts, because they're going to be able to talk you through how it's going to be done. They're going to teach you that we got to wear our masks in the house. We're really key on communication. It's important. So those are the types of things that I would say are important to everybody to get across. And
Yeah,
both of us love our community and love putting good people in our community. And that's what it's all about.
Well,
very
we look
good.
forward to having more time to eventually get the chamber crew back together, more of our members interacting with each other, and maybe we'll have some more virtual stuff if it looks like in-person stuff isn't happening. But you're right, Greg, we have a great community, and it's people like both you and John who help make it that way by connecting people to what they need and helping them make good choices. John, did you have something yet?
I had it and it slipped my mind right now. When Greg was talking, I had it right on the tip of my tongue. Yeah, it came in and as quickly as it came in, it left.
That's
So,
okay.
no.
That's okay.
Phillies baseball starts real
Hey,
soon.
there you go.
This is exciting.
Oh, I know what it was. Here it is. I think expectations, when you meet with a realtor, and I think Greg's right, interview several people, see how your personalities match. But I think it's very important that you really point out what your expectations are as a buyer or a seller or as an investor, because your realtor might be thinking one thing and you might be thinking another thing. And I think it's very important, whether you're selling a house or buying a house, that you have your expectations, that the realtor knows what your expectations are. And that makes the path a lot clearer.
Thanks so much. Thank you, Greg, John, for your time today, for sharing all your expertise. We can tell how much you love this community, and thanks for keeping us all in beautiful homes. And I'm going to let Matt go ahead. Oh, sorry, go ahead. Matt, go ahead and introduce next week.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, so next week we'll hear from Elizabethtown Area School District Leadership, Michelle Balliette, the superintendent, Mr. Dan Serfas, the assistant superintendent, and Mr. Rich Schwartzman. He's the assistant to the superintendent for compliance and student support. As you can imagine, they've been incredibly busy planning for the new school year, reviewing the latest guidance from the Center for Disease Control and the PA Department of Health. Join us to learn a little bit about the district's plans for the fall, and of course how that affects and impacts our entire community, business community as well, or especially. So look forward to seeing you next week, same time, same bat channel, noon o'clock on Wednesday. It's the place to be. Thanks for joining us.